Hey everyone, welcome back to Local Living. I made my way out to Waynesboro and I'm sitting here with the owner of Vintage on 6, Jen. I'm so excited that you're a part of Local Living because I love what you guys do at Vintage on 6. Tell me a little bit about your store.
Yes, thank you. We have a vintage and antique store in Waynesboro. It's over 16,000 square feet. It's full of eclectic, unique,
gorgeous stuff,
stylized items.
Yeah. Well, and we actually came over to start with to one of your clients' homes here in Waynesboro. Most of the stuff that has been set out in this home is from your store. I can't wait for people to see it all.
Yes, we wanted to film here in this home because we thought it was a good example of not your grandma's house.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit about the misconceptions of antiques because I think that's a big one.
It is
that people feel like if you use antiques or vintage that it's going to feel like your grandma's house.
Right, and this actually is an older home, but you walk in and you're right, it doesn't feel or smell like your grandma's house, right?
That's right.
But you've taken a bunch of pieces and you've mixed and matched. So you've taken those modern and antique looks and pieced them together. Tell me how you make that work.
So I always recommend to all of our clients to mix furniture from different eras.
Okay.
And mix the old with the new. Because otherwise it feels like a museum.
Right.
And you don't want your house to feel like a museum.
Right.
You want it to feel like a collection that's been curated over time, but you don't want it to have that stuffy, formal look. And so that's why we recommend to use vintage and antiques as well, is because it gives you something unique in your house.
And really you would never know until you look at some of these items that, oh wow, that is actually an antique piece. And so some of in this room in particular, I know that your client loves white. And so it is still a very usable home. We're sitting on the couches hanging out. So you can still use white, the color white as well, and make it work.
Yeah, when you're using white, mix in some mirror, mix in some metallics, and then add texture.
Okay.
For example, this is actually an antique table, coffee table. It's mirror and it's also silver.
Ooh, I love this piece.
Right, thank you. Thank you. And then also, you know, if you bring in something vintage and something antiques with something new, like the sofas are new, it creates some authenticity and adds some depth to the look.
Okay, and I also saw in one of the rooms that you have a piece that looks quite like this. It's actually an older piece, but you've painted it.
Right, it's painted leather. So if you hate the color of something, don't live with it.
Okay.
You can change it. It's easily changeable.
Done, right.
Right, and that's another good point with using antiques and vintage is they've been around for 100 years, 150 years for a reason. They're quality, they're solid. So don't be afraid to pick up a piece that you don't like the fabric or you don't like the color and reupholster it or change it in some way.
That is a good point to bring up because I feel like so many times you walk into a store and you're buying a piece, you're spending this money, and then a couple years later you're gonna have to replace it because of the way it was made. And so, great point. Vintage, antique, those are quality pieces that you can reuse and they'll last you a really long time.
Right, and you'll pay less or the same price as a new piece.
In the long run, right?
Right,
really.
Right, and you'll keep it forever.
Right, and so tell me about some of the ways that you have added. I know that in the dining area, there's some antique pieces and some other pieces that don't quite look as old, right?
Right, and that's going back to mixing the eras because you don't want it to feel like a museum.
Right.
So don't be afraid to add new pieces. Don't be afraid to add inexpensive pieces as long as it achieves the look that you're going for.
Right.
The big thing we always say is just mix it up.
Mix it together.
And have fun.
Well, Jen, you've done a great job mixing it up in this house. It's gorgeous. I know that you've been taking a tour as we talk of the home, so thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.